Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday evening. It is also 9 o'clock. Time to gather in the music room and have a live stream. But first, as always, a little music. Enjoy.
We are all the heirs to Scotland, as a nation proudly stand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. To the world we bid a welcome in 1,000 different ways. We will toast to long lost friendships as we build our better days. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. We are all the heroes of Scotland. We're a nation hand in hand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum.
Okay, folks. A wee bit of a mishap here. Sensim's with us. Streaky, if you want to come on, you're most welcome to come on. I don't have anyone else. Eki hasn't shown up just yet, but you're more welcome. So I'll put the link in the chat for you. Okay. And I'm sure it'll go fine. So, folks, without further ado, we'll add Mr. Magic Man.
Good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Mr. William Man.
All right.
All right, yourself. And Mr. Sensor Man.
Oh, there he goes.
Hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's doing well.
Just about out of breath, that's all. And Streaky's going to join us after all, so that's pretty good. So, what's new with you folks? Anything?
Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed.
Yeah, not much, to be honest. Still doing my HNC, and yeah, hanging in there.
Still
Trying to get
enjoying
used. I am, but the weather here's been terrible. I feel like we went from a kind of Indian summer straight into, I don't know if you can still say Indian summer, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
We went from that straight into winter. I think we could be expecting snow next week. I'm sure I've seen that. And I think it's the official end of British summertime on Sunday. The clocks go back.
Yes, I believe so. So,
But I don't know if you've had the same sort of stormy weather, but we've been battered basically. So it's been, yeah, a bit of a bugger.
well, as you appreciate, William, I I don't leave the house very often. But looking out the window, it's blowing a hoolie most of the time, and I expect it to be cold. So, what else? It's Scotland. Senso, how about you? What's new with you, sir?
Nothing really, John. If I'm being honest, it's pretty much same shit, different day, my end. So yeah.
Great. And you, Streaky, how's things with you, sir?
Well, he's backstage.
Oh, is he? Why is he backstage? Oh, here. How did you get in there? What's that noise? Oh. I heard this, get this tremendous noise going on in the background. It's the washing machine. Streaky, there he is. Streaky, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm in good health. The end of the working week, and I'm happy enough. I wasn't sure if I'd be around at this time of the month. I was going to have a bit of a break, and I watched the film last night, especially so I could so I did feel a bit bad letting you down. So yeah, things are okay. Yeah, weather's a bit miserable, but you expect that this time of year. I'm really boring. Nothing much to say, mate. Just work and everything. Yeah.
Well, I don't have to ask my son how things are. I know perfectly well how things are. Okay, so let us begin the film review, and we'll begin with Senso. Who's this? As you chose this film, Senso, would you like to begin the review?
Yeah, it's APPALOOSA, a 2008 Western starring Ed Harris, Viggo Mortensen, and...
The 2008 Western.
Is that you, Streaky? Can you mute your mic?
Viggo Mortensen and 2008 Western. Is that you, Streaky? Can you mute your mic? Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, sorry, mate. I I had it on the TV because my laptop, the sound's a bit fucked, but I'll just stick to my laptop. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, and Rennie Zellweger, obviously there were other characters in there who you'd probably seen before, the likes of Jeremy Irons and Timothy Spall, etc. The reason why I chose it is because I've only seen it once, and I think I saw it very early when it came out. If not, I definitely didn't see it in the pictures, but I saw it probably when it came out, first showing on Sky TV, and I remember I really enjoyed it at the time, and I thought, that would be an interesting one to pick because I haven't seen it for a while. A few people hadn't seen it, so I thought, yeah, that would be an interesting one to cover. And I actually watched it tonight before we came on the stream, and I enjoyed it again. So there you go. I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, this is just a quick intro. Samuel, general thoughts?
Yeah, it was a pretty good modern beat western. Great cast, phenomenal cast, and definitely one that if you haven't seen it, give it a wee look.
Excellent. So, William, what have you got to say as an intro?
Yeah. Do you know what? I wasn't disappointed, but I wasn't overly excited. So Western's not really my cup of tea. But still, hey, I watched it and it was all right. So it's nothing to go shouting about. I never thought. I'm not a big Western fan, but I've watched quite a few, and then now I just kind of feel once you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. Okay, Streaky, opening remarks.
It was overlong. I felt no affinity with any of the actors. The scenes were fairly realistic. Pretty much like William said, it was lukewarm, tepid. It didn't get me off my seat. That's all as an opening statement.
Okay. So it's back to you, says some. What have you got to say about the music?
Well, it was appropriate for the type of film that it was. It was a little bit of a hybrid sort of soundtrack because they mixed in what would be or what you would recollect as being traditional Western flair, but mixed in with some electric guitar riffs. Like long delayed electric guitars just add a little bit of gravitas to the moment. So. Yeah, I don't think the thing is with the music in Appaloosa, it's not. There's not really a lot of it. It's only really there at key moments, and there are a few light-hearted pieces when there are a few comedy bits in it, and then there are a few serious bits in it when it's serious. So I think it's what you would expect. I don't actually know who did the music in this film. I didn't really. Pay much attention to it because it wasn't really that important to the film. When you see other westerns like The Big Country and The Magnificent Seven, the score was almost a character in itself, whereas in this one it was just sat in the background and added a little bit of a little bit of sugar, if you like, to certain scenes. Other than that, it pretty much kept out of the way of the film.
Streaky, your thoughts about the music?
Yeah, the music was more akin to a a crime film, the mafia kind of films, like the jazz. Not jazz. Sorry, there was a lot of saxophone. It was very like a moody. You know, if you'd walked into a jazz club in the 1920s, it was strange to hear this kind of music in a western. There was some nice violin when the bird came on the scene. I forget her name now. Ali. Yeah, there's some decent violin music, but nah, there was nothing that really made you nothing special with the music. No.
Okay. Samuel?
The music was very background, to the point where I genuinely can't remember any of it, other than it felt different to what you would typically get from a Western film. So that's maybe good, maybe bad, depends whatever floats your boat. But it certainly did detract from my enjoyment from the film. Definitely middle of the road.
Okay. Short and sweet. Okay, let's try something with a bit more depth to it. Who would you say, if any, held this film together? We'll start with William.
Oh, yeah, quite a tough one, that, to be honest.
Well, I like to give you the tough ones.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was for me, it was the main character, Ed Horace, is it?
Ah,
It was the guy Everett. Is it Vigo?
Vigo.
I thought he was the one for me that stood out, and I kind of wanted to know a wee bit more. In regards to more scenes with him in it, but yeah, it would have been him for me. He was probably the best for me in it. Great actor. Well, Horace, you know what you're gonna get. It's kind of like God. It's Horace. You know what you're getting. He's a good actor, but similar to kind of Sylvester Stallone, you know what you're going to get. But his partner, the deputy, he stood out. I mean, I thought the female character played quite well, and I did see she actually got quite a lot of stick in terms of the the reviews when it first came out. But I thought she'd done it. Yeah, I thought she'd done all right, to be honest.
okay. I don't read those things, you see. That's what I'm asking. Stricky, what did you think? Who stood out for you?
I'd agree with William. Viggo Mortensen, I think his name is. He played Aragorn in. Yeah, he's the guy. He played Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. Viggo Mortensen, yeah, he was the character for me that held any interest. I'd never heard of the main character, Ed, whoever played him. Virgil Ed Harris is it maybe? I never heard of the guy before. Yeah, and the bird, Renée Zellweger. I've heard of her from Bridget Jones' Diary, but I've never seen her in a film. I'm not a great. I don't watch many films, so. But yeah, I like Viggo Mortensen. He was in a film called The Road, which is a really good dystopian film about the same time.
Oh,
So yeah, he was my favorite character. None of them particularly appealed to me, to be honest. Like, it wasn't a film I'd watch again. But that's all I got to say on the matter.
Okay. Senso, who stood out for you?
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything the other guys have said. It's clearly Viggo Mortensen sort of is the gel across all of the characters. So gets a standout performance from me, and it was because Toffee mentioned it as well. It was quite interesting to see that quite a few of the characters in this film were also in a film called A History of Violence, which was a really good film with Viggo Mortensen in. Ed Harris was in that. The main henchman, there was a henchman and his brother who turn up and kidnap the Rennie Zellweger character. The older brother, he was in that film as well. So there was a sort of an almost ready-made cast of people who they'd worked with before. And because he was directing it, Ed Harris also directed it. I think that was quite important for him to work with people who he clearly worked with before and got on with. So, yeah, I still think, like I say, it was the Viggo Mortensen character had the most depth to him and was the most interesting. And the other characters were. I thought they were all pretty solid. I don't understand why Rennie Zellweger would get negative reviews. Maybe it's because her career was on the wane and she was an easy target for the pundits. But they all played the roles really well. I just like the feel for the film. And one thing that stood out for me about the film in general, and I saw this film originally with an uncle of mine who's sort of a Wild West almost aficionado, and he reckoned that the costumes and particularly the guns and the boots that they were wearing were really accurate for the time.
Yeah,
he said a lot of times just
very realistic. Yeah.
So
sorry, mate. Very realistic.
That was another plus. But character-wise, yeah, I think Viggo Mortensen was clearly there. I mean, obviously, he wasn't the well, you could say he was co-star with Ed Harris, but he was clearly the more interesting of the two main characters, put it that way.
Yeah. On the subject of the guns, the sound of the guns was quite different from what we usually get.
Yeah, well, that was another comment that my uncle made. He said that he said that the way that they did things, the very close proximity that these fights took place, which was pretty much realistic, because a lot of the times, you were barely a sword's distance away when a lot of these gunfights took place, and because they were so, they weren't as accurate as they were made out in the films of the 40s and 50s with John Wayne, where they could knock the wing off a mosquito. They were very, very inaccurate.
Of course.
And so you had to be in a relative close proximity in order to hit your target, as it were. Unless in this film you had an 8-gauge shotgun, which literally just blasted it out. I think it had something like an 8 feet radius at 8 feet, so you could blast 4 blokes stood virtually in front of them with it. So yeah, that was good. Yeah, good observational point, John.
Samuel, your thoughts on the central characters? Who stood out?
Definitely Viggo, his Hitch. He's definitely the character that I think the audience would take to, the sort of everyday guy-ish, the kind of hero that we perhaps want to be and fantasize about. because who wouldn't want to be Vigo? And then obviously you've got a very well acted antagonist in Jeremy Irons playing Bragg, who's this slimy, controlling, very rich bad guy that you want to get his comeuppance. And obviously Ed Harris in the title role does a very good job considering the fact that he's also directing the film, but allows his co-stars to shine. It's a very good ensemble piece, but certainly Vico is the top guy in this.
Consensus opinion. Okay. So let's talk about the director. What did you think of the direction, Streaky? Did you think it was well directed?
Sorry. Fuck. I think the director was the guy, Ed Harris, the who I'd never heard of, the star. He was the guy that directed it. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how to about the direction of the film. I can't really talk about the directing. I don't know enough about it, John. Apart from, like I said, the film was over long for me. The best parts of the film was like Sensum said earlier about how realistic it was. I think it was set in 1880 or early 1880s, and as far as I'm aware, that was pretty much how everybody did look. And yeah, the shooting scenes, like Sansom said, you had to be a lot closer up. You had none of the silliness of like Clint Eastwood shooting somebody hanging off a noose 500 yards away. You know, this was a lot more realistic. Yeah, so I don't really know. I couldn't tell you a good director from a bad director. So I'll
Don't worry.
just pass on that question, mate.
Don't worry about that. Samuel, what did you think of the direction?
Yeah, I thought he did a reasonable job. To say, he laid out everything that needed to be done, got everyone in place, and basically let the talent shine. Let his director of photography capture some really nice shots. Whether any of that was directly his input, I don't know. The film definitely had a slight problem with pacing. It did slow down a wee bit. There was some things that didn't quite work in terms of the overall story. Kind of lingered on too much with the building of the new house and whatnot, and the sudden cut for the trial, which just appeared out of nowhere. And I thought I fell asleep for 10 minutes and missed 10 minutes of the film. That it just appeared out of nowhere, which caught me totally off guard. So there was some problems there. Maybe it was an editing thing. I don't know, or perhaps just the source that we use. Maybe it was that. But overall, he did a good job. Did what he was meant to do. And again, I don't know if that was his first time doing it or not. But yeah, no real complaints. But he's no Orson.
No, that's for sure.
John, if I may interrupt, by the direction of the film, I tell you what I did find off-putting was the introduction of. It seemed a little forced when Ali got introduced into the film.
Yeah.
And it just felt forced, you know. It was too early for her to be introduced, and it was so quick how he fell in love with her, and he just seemed that spoilt it for me. That spoilt the film. I
Yeah.
would rather have seen her, introduced later or not at all, to be honest.
It might have been better, I think, had he played it a little more lusty and less romantic.
Yeah, he was. All the romance scenes, and it made me laugh when she was trying to. She liked men with power, especially, Which,
Yeah.
fair enough. But when she was asking, I don't even know the name, Everett, Everett, and she said, "Do you think I'm pretty?" And I thought, yeah, if you think pretty is like a white Chinese woman who's got an allergy to prawns, she just she's no beauty. Let's be honest about it. But yeah, she spoiled it for me. I'd rather have seen Everett and Virgil just going shooting up a lot more gun scenes in it. I think it would have been a better film. I didn't like her character in it at all. So if that's anything to do with direction, that's my chip. I've just chipped in with him. Okay.
Sure enough. The thing about that we have to always remember, I think, is we're seeing what is represented as a finished product. So what we don't know generally is what's lying on the cutting room floor. And what lies on the cutting room floor can mean all the difference between a great film and a good film. And it has, I think, the scent of a much longer film that has been cut and cut and cut and cut. Because of what you're all beginning to see. She comes in very quickly. She falls in love, or they fall in love very quickly.
Yeah.
That's why I said perhaps had it been possible, it might have been better to play that more lusty rather than romantically because of the time elements of the story.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. But there you go. Who have we not spoke to? Said some?
From a director's point of view, I think he'd only ever done another film that he directed. I don't even know if it was before or after this one. But I think that played, like I say, that played a long way for him picking people who he'd worked with as an actor before. I think that I think when Streaky was saying it was overly long, I think that you could essentially cut the bit out where they sort of go on the hunt for the Rennie Zellweger character, and the interact with the Indians, and that. I think you could have cut that whole section out and literally just gone, from the train down to where they sort of park up with the other sheriff. You could have played that a little bit better, and then that would have made the film, I think, probably gel slightly more, because it was a 2-hour film. If they'd made it a 90-minute film and cut out that section, I think it would have played. I think it would have played a lot more smoothly with regards to the plot, because that whole section where they get off the train and then they're following the Zellweger character, and then they catch up with him again. That's where it went from up to that point being relatively, a nice steady pace with a nice steady storyline developing with, good amounts of action in it, to a little drawn out, and then, another bit of action, and then eventually get into the final scene. I think Streaky's right in what he said there. You know, that could have been a place where, you know, that, like we say, we don't know what was on the cutting room floor,
No.
but if they'd have used some of the other bits and, you know, got rid of that middle bit, which, when you think about it, you know, when you saw the Indians rock up, and I do remember this from the first time round of seeing it, and they try and steal Renée Zellweger, you think to yourself, oh, hang on a minute here, what's going to happen here is they're going to sod off with her, and then it's going to turn into like a mini Searchers. And it didn't happen. So like I say, that's like I say, that could have been done probably slightly better. But on the parts, like I say, if you take that bit out of the middle, all the rest of it, I thought he did a pretty decent job of directing it. And he's certainly got the mood right, and he's certainly got the interactions of the characters right. Because even though they were baddies, they were still quite stoic, which I would imagine a lot of these, you know, characters of that time were quite stoic. You know, I don't think there'll be many people who, of that era, who weren't stoic because of the danger that they faced on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
so
that's what I would say. The other thing I noticed as well.
Sorry, John Williams just mentioned he's in the backstage. He must have got himself out of the room.
Okay. The thing that I noticed that you don't get very often, but we saw it quite a bit, and that was characters eating food. I know it doesn't seem a lot, but when you watch enough westerns, you know, nobody seems to eat food. They all do plenty of drinking.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It was, and again, that sort of lends itself to the overall realism. You know, and particularly you've got fantastic costumes. You've got, you know, really realistic looking weaponry and top notch sound design for the gunshots, coupled with all these fantastic locations that they're filming on. And obviously they're eating away, and as you say, it's everyone drinks like a fish, but nobody eats anything. So yeah, that's a fair point.
It's something I usually look out for,
unless it's a campfire. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's true. I look for that in all films. How are the characters actually eating any food here? Do they ever go to the toilet?
Well, we did have a toilet visit in this.
We did?
Yeah. Jeremy Irons went to the toilet and got kidnapped.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So he did.
Yeah.
And the bar scene at the beginning.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a toilet, but they.
Yeah.
All right, of course. But these are the sort of things, you know, somebody like me looks for, because it adds a certain amount of realism.
It does, yeah. Somebody in the background walking into a toilet adds authenticity to the.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You say it's the same as the horses. You never see the horses peeing.
You've just killed
That's true.
But it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I remember when horses walked about in this town when I was a boy, and they did that all over the place.
I dare say it would be a tough watch in the cinema as you're eating your popcorn. See the horses was in a
well, At that point, son, you're glad that smell-o-vision didn't take off.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I've been slightly flippant there.
Do you know what was it was quite funny when when Sensum picked the film, sent it, and I'd watched it before it started. I thought, oh, it's going to be a fucking ancient film set in about when Sensum and John were teenagers. And at the very first opening scene, it came up a date, 1882. And I thought, there you go. I knew it.
Yeah, it's held up well. Yeah.
It's actually even got sound in it.
Yeah. On the direction, I thought it was all right. I mean, a Western, when you try and think about how you would direct it and where to take it and what surprises to pull, a lot of it I could read. I thought, oh, here's this girl appeared, they're going to get together, she's going to get kidnapped. And then other parts I thought, fuck, Jesus, that was a bit out of the blue. It took a bit of a turn. So, I mean, yeah, it's like right down the middle for me, to be fair. I've got nothing really bad to say about it. I agree with everything that got said already, but I did think it was probably a wee bit long, and it did appear that stuff had been cut out. In particular, jumping to the courtroom. It's like, well, how did I get here, sort of feeling. And yeah, I certainly noticed that, but I think overall it's hard for me to knock it, but you can pick faults with it, certainly.
Well, here's one that I would add to it, and I address this to Censor. Do you remember the Western that I picked, Censor, with Henry Ford and Anthony Quinn?
Yeah, Henry Fonda. It was Warlock. That was brilliant.
Right. If you take that film, a couple of other Westerns, you've got the one we were just watching. It's got bits of all of those films. I don't know if you'd agree with me.
I definitely would, because I've seen it, and yeah, the dynamic between the sort of the main character and his number two, very similar in nature to the Henry Fonda and Anthony Quinn character. The baddie as well, you know, who come into the bar and everything, and they'd have it to the town. So yeah, very similar.
Now, that's not anybody's fault because it's coming from a novel. And I look out for that all the time. And that was nice to see that the film had been taken from a novel.
Yeah, seemingly it wasn't, you know, a lot of, on occasions, it's completely different from the book. It's like, what the heck? It's not the same, but seemingly they kept it. I've not read the book, but seemingly they kept it pretty much exactly what happened in the book. And from what I read, Harris, the deputy, Vigo, they're both big on Western movies. So it was a kind of, because they liked them, because they really liked Westerns, they wanted to make it. Seemingly the guy Vigo nearly turned it down, but in the end he pulled through. And I kind of got that feeling even before I knew that. I got this feeling it's made by people who, they really like Western films. It was a typical kind of Western in my view, but I mean, with me not being a big fan of Westerns, it's run-of-the-mill stuff for me, to be honest.
So you think it was a bit of a homage?
I would say it probably wiped its nose, to be honest. I know it's not done too well when I looked at how much money it made and stuff like that, but it's very mixed as well, the opinion, from what I could see. So, and I can see why. Some people uh, hated it, other people liked it, loved it, and I could see why, to be honest. But yeah, it's not one I'd recommend. But
Really?
yeah, yeah, kind of down the middle for me.
Yeah. It is very different from the Hollywood type Western. That's for sure.
I enjoyed the dialogue between the two main characters, Virgil and Everett, when Everett had to finish off Virgil's sentences because he didn't know words, like jurisdiction, etc. And
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
was, yeah, that was quite good. I enjoyed there was a decent camaraderie between them, and
yeah,
yeah, that was an enjoyable part of the film. But
Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic that he
yeah.
knew
I
what he
thought that.
wanted to say.
Yeah, I thought it was a part that played out really good. It was like this broken, unspoken bond between two people that are basically they're brothers, from different mothers, I'd imagine, and you can just see how much respect they've got for each other, and it plays out as well to the end when the guy Beg steps outside. I thought he played his part really good, and the prostitute as well. I thought, I thought she done all right, to be fair. And from what I read, the guy Vigo, I'm forgetting his second name, but the prostitute he's with in the movie, they're still together. They hooked up and they're still together today.
yeah, they
Oh
lived
wow.
together in Spain.
Yep,
So they're a
that's it.
couple in real life. Yeah, they live together in
Yeah,
Spain.
Wow.
Nice.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, the it's that dynamic, of course, that produces the finish, the ending, of course. I've never seen that idea played out, but I thought it was an interesting idea. Maybe that's the problem with the film. Perhaps the problem with the film is because in the novel, there's a lot of things happening in the novel. And if you try to put it all in the film, you ruin it totally. And what we've got is perhaps an uneasy balance.
yeah. Kind of
Like,
watered. It's like a watered down.
yeah,
It's a watered down version, but I think even they struggled even with the time it's in. It's nearly two. I think on the 2 hour mark.
I
The
don't know. I
movie
never
itself.
looked, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's basically it's a 2 hour film.
I thought we were coming to the end of the film when they were in the train and they were taking Bragg to court, and the train stopped and she was shown with the two brothers, Rig and I forget the other guy's name, Maggie or something, and they had the guns to her head. Now I was thinking, like, they're on that train. You had two of the courthouse guards, big with their guns. You got Everett, you got Virgil, right? So Everett and Virgil, top gunslingers. Why didn't they just like have a shootout? I honestly thought that was the end of the film. I thought we were coming to the end of the film, and they were gonna like have a shootout, and then they get your guy to court. But they could have done it easy. I would have just left the bird. I would have had a shootout. What's the point in going after the bird? And that's where it felt very forced. He hadn't met her that long. Next thing they get in a house on the street, and then he's prepared to lose this guy who he wants to take to courthouse just for the bird. And they're in the best position. They're on a train. And at the end of the day, if it had all gone badly, she would have had her head shot off. That's no great loss to anybody. And they would have been on the train getting your man to court. So I think it could have ended there, like.
Sure.
And that's all I got to say.
Yeah,
Like-
to be honest, when that bit played out, I kind of thought, oh, she's going to get shot here. I thought, and then they're going to all scatter, and the guy might get away. I thought she was finished at that point, to be honest.
Well, perhaps that's what's
Yeah.
wrong. The fact that there's so much in the novel. And it was a question of what do we leave in rather than what do we take out.
Yeah.
Difficult to say when we haven't seen all the footage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would be a nightmare of a job, that. Because, I mean, I've helped my wife with her photography, and sometimes she's took like hundreds of pictures, and then she's got to pick like 20 of the best. And it's like, well, I mean, if they're all really good, how do you decide? Do you know what I mean? It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you've got too much to work with, that can hinder you. But of course, if you've got too little, that can hinder as well. So
Absolutely.
I think a lot of it, you've kind of got to take a gamble on it and see how it goes. I think overall the film, I honestly think it'll be looked at how it's looked at today for a long time, and it'll split opinion. But even just by splitting opinion, it can be popular from that.
Sure. Bit interesting to see another edit.
Yeah, it's definitely a film that will be remembered most for its cast, their performances, how it looks and sounds, rather than the story itself, because it's not a tombstone. It's not an Unforgiven by any means. It's a very distant third. It's probably further down the order in modern day westerns. But it definitely has a homage to films of the past, as their journey is just littered with reused sequences and shots from other films. The train sequence from Wild Bunch, the actual location is the same from Wild Bunch, reused in Breaking Bad when they have the train sequence in that.
And 310 to Yuma. Yeah.
I haven't seen that, but no doubt. The town, the very oddly quiet town that they go to at the end of the film, where there's nobody there apart from these sketchy guys, I believe is reused from Fistful of Dollars, and certain the river crossing area, I think, is again from Wild Bunch and other films. I think it was also used as Searchers. So there was a lot of reused locations, which they're more than welcome to do, and perhaps that was deliberate to satisfy the Western hardcore fans, to give them all their juicy bits.
I like that. Ethan Oliphant says, "This is like English class at school. I never read the book." You're very quiet, said some.
I'm just letting everybody else have a turn.
He's busy.
Usually fed up with me waffling on.
He's busy eating curry. Never mind him. He's busy. He's always busy.
I see.
Do you know when I dropped out before, I fell asleep when Sansom was on.
That's really unkind, that as well.
No, I'm joking. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure, but I had to refresh and I had to get back in.
All right.
But all good.
Yeah. Can I ask everyone else's opinions on woman that Vigo was with, was it just me, or did it feel like those two characters had an already established relationship, even though technically those two characters were new in town?
Yeah, I think they did already work together, so you probably picked up on that. I'm sure well, when I was reading about it, I'm sure I read they had. I'm unsure of the movie, but they had worked together. I think they had all worked together before in the past in different films, and yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it said, because it went on to talk about how they got together not long after, announced it, and seemingly still together today.
Yeah, they
But I
worked
thought they,
together with
yeah,
that film Censor mentioned earlier about something with violence.
oh yeah,
So they,
history of
uh,
violence.
yeah,
I'm
yeah, they worked together then.
Yeah, more so the characters from the film. It seemed like they had a connection that didn't seem like it had been established, but it seemed that they had it. If you know what I mean?
Yes, as
Film
characters, not
itself,
as
it
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
yeah, it was okay. It was a likable film. You know, it went on too long, but there is nothing. It has no redeeming feature, no redeeming like gun scene or there's nothing that'll make me think, yeah, I'd like to watch that film again to see this part or anything. It had nothing. It was just plain. It was just like egg on toast. It was nothing.
yeah. I liked the acting in it. I thought the acting was the strongest point of the film. Definitely.
I have a question here from Richard. A question for William and the other guests. Why are you all so camera shy?
I'm a transvestite, but I haven't come out with it yet.
You're a sweet transsexual from Transylvania.
Any further advances on this?
Well, I mean, to be
I'm
honest,
not set up for mine.
yeah, I don't want to scare anybody. So, I mean, and of course, if Sensum put his on, we'd all find out that he's actually from Nigeria. So we can't give the game away.
Or even fucking worse, Liverpool.
Oh!
Where's Toffee? I'll get Toffee typing in the chat now.
Oh, that's stirring the pot there.
Shots fired.
Yeah, you have Toffee on the rage there. Well, I posed the question.
I'm sat next to a sheep. It's me and a sheep on the sofa.
Is that Molly? The cloned sheep.
Dolly.
Dolly was it? Dolly. That was it.
Oh, she's gone now. I got a new one now. I cloned her. I cloned another one.
Dolly Mark II.
William, will I see
Oh
you?
yeah, yeah. You won't see me there tomorrow, but you'll see if you go to Inverness when it's there. I'll be able to see you. I've actually met Rich before.
Right.
So I know Rich quite well through Facebook and the Lost Jacobites group. He's a great guy, so yeah, it'll be good to see you. Alex did ask me to speak at the rally in Inverness, but I've told her I'm unsure. I said I'm unsure just now. I mean, I kind of feel like, fuck, what have I got to say? I'll probably say the wrong thing, end up arrested. So I don't know. I'll see when I get there, and I might say a couple of bits, but yeah.
So what's the
I'm
rally? What's the rally?
It's kind of like a, remember sort of CDC, was it CDC rallies and anti-nuclear
All
sort
right,
of,
CND.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so it's a wee bit like that. They're trying to get a kind of rally sort of protest scenario going. Which yeah, I mean, hey, why not? It would
Well,
be.
why
It would.
not here?
I'd rather hear people talking about peace than oh bomb this and bomb that and bomb the next thing. So
Sure.
because you don't hear much of that now. People advocating for even with the Palestine Israel. It's oh well, we need to do this. Well, even when they talk about a ceasefire, it's like, well, forget a ceasefire, completely stop. How about peace rather than, oh, we'll do a time period and then we go again? It's like, well, no, how about just peace and begin to let people. I mean, when people talk, just to finish on it, when people talk about the amount of people that die in Palestine and what have you, yeah, it's eye watering stuff, but we're quite powerless in that regard. I mean, we can't even change Scotland. Never mind Palestine or Israel. So I try to prioritize where I put energy into, but I totally advocate peace and um, in the world we're in, it would be hard to get it. To be honest, they yeah, that's for another day, I guess. But
Do you know that there are still people at the Holy Loch campaigning for CND?
are they still there?
Yep,
Yeah.
still there.
Well,
That
yeah.
shows
I
you how
mean,
successful it is.
yeah, it's. I know there's been a big push in the past against the nuclear weapons, but I can never see them getting moved. I think they're placed strategically
Of course they
in a geographical sense. So
are. Of course they
the
are.
the chances of them getting moved, I mean, unless we got someone maybe streaky to jump in and sail it away, I don't know. I don't know how you could. I mean, it seems to be America wants it there. The UK want it there. France want it there. NATO wants it there. Then there's the whole topic of, well, who actually controls it? Is it NATO? Is it Britain? Is it America? Who's actually got the finger on the button? And yet, when you get down to it, they're based in Scotland. So
Sure.
if it goes tits up, I mean, who does it affect then? They already bomb the heck out of Scotland. The North Sea, the coastline. They do different war game scenarios, and they're bombing stuff constantly, man. I'm right next to one of the biggest bases in Europe, and I mean, it's heating up still even more. We've now got a platoon of aircraft from, I think it was Germany. They're stationed here now, and that's all part of this whole Russian scenario. And it never even said how long they're going to be here. They're just going to be stationed in Lossiemouth, just on my doorstep. So I'll keep an eye out for them. I do a wee bit of plane spotting, but every time I look at them, I just think, right, who are you going to bomb today? And do you know, it's like, as much as I appreciate these machines because they really are some engineering when you see them in the sky, but what's the end game? What are they doing? And where's it taking us?
Well, you see, my position's really quite simple, and it's based on age. I watched CND when it was nothing. I watched it climb to the heights, and now it's nothing again. I guess what influence it had? None. Why? Because they don't listen to the public, politicians of all sorts. And that's why I'm incredibly cynical about any form of protest and demonstrations on the streets, because they're inside their cozy offices watching you out in the rain getting soaked, getting a cold and all the rest of it, and nothing's ever going to change. And nothing has ever changed. So why bother? The only bother you should be doing is changing the politicians. That's the only time something will happen. However, I don't see what any of this has got to do with the movie.
I know that's Richard putting us off topic. Shocking. Put him in a timeout.
Quite. But that's a lifetime of observation, and nobody can deny
Yeah,
what I'm
just
saying is true.
just on that, John, because I mean, you've seen it probably from its beginnings and then over time.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Do you think people have just changed their perception, or do you think it's been deliberately kind of broken up? What would you reckon?
I reckon that people, when it started, people genuinely thought that they could change politicians' minds, and therefore CND could muster millions on the streets every other weekend. And they could. And they did. But over time, what happened was the public saw that nobody was paying attention to it. Oh, you got a lot of talk, usual bluster and yakety yak, but nothing was ever done because the powers that be wanted it, and therefore you were going to get it because you're not important. You're only a little person. It's us at the top of the house
Yeah.
who make the decisions and roll beside you if you don't like them. Because we're not going to listen to you. And that's the way it's been. And that's why I have the attitude I have. The only way you'll change any of that stuff is changing the politicians. I mean, SNP, William, blustered all the time about getting rid of the
Yeah. Yeah.
bombs.
Right enough. Yeah.
And how long have they been in power?
True. Yep.
Where are the bombs? Well, they're still there.
Yep.
Why? Because it's just talk.
I've talked about that before with the SNP. Oh, they used to be against NATO, against the bombs, and then total independence. Even if they, all it would take is them to be elected, and all that changed over time. They
Yeah,
completely backtracked on the whole lot, and they're a completely different animal now.
yeah. Of course they are.
From the people that founded it would be, they would be breaking records for turning in the grave.
Exactly. That's why, as I say, if you want anything to change, you're going to have to change the kind of person you vote into power. And that's
Are we?
someone.
Sorry, John.
Go ahead.
Are we allowed to talk about anything apart from the film now? Because I've got something, but it's not to do with the film. It's 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 just in reference to what William was saying earlier about nobody opposing the war. I think in the Western world we've become desensitized to war because the last time people had any real fear of nuclear war was in the early 80s, mid 80s, with the Cold War. And a lot of people alive at that time remembered the Second World War, and they'd seen Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But now we're really close to nuclear war, but we've been desensitized in the Western world. We've seen bombs constantly being dropped on Libya, bombs dropped on Iraq, and it's everything bomb, 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 and it's all far away from us. So you get desensitized to war. But we are so close to something major happening now, like a nuclear war, and people couldn't give a shit because they just think it's a film. It's not going to happen. So I think this is why a lot of people there's a sense of apathy all around the West, and they don't realize how close we are. Yeah, that's all I got to say on the matter.
Well, when I was a teenager, it was real. It was so real, in fact, that we spent a lot of time trying to get the females into bed by talking about what are you going to do with the last 4 minutes of your life.
Yeah.
Because living here, that was a reality. Laura, who lived just up the road at Port Glasgow, she was terrified. Her thought and hundreds of other girls thought the same thing, that they would never see their mum again because when the bomb went off, we would all be dead. These were real things, guys. I know it sounds funny.
Yeah, the early 80s. I remember I scarred the CND into my arm. The motive for the CND, the campaign for nuclear disarmament, instead of tattooing it into my arm, I scarred it into my arm when I was a kid. Like, yeah, it was the thing about it was just constant. The Cold War, nuclear war. Kids were talking like in the early 80s. It was a real. It was a time. Now they got the climate change drummed into the kids' heads, but it was nuclear war when I was like early 80s teenager. Yeah, but but it's just right, John. I think it was quite feared. It was feared then, and if anybody's seen the 1983 film Threads, which should be a must-watch, there'd be no talk. And if anybody in Britain's seen Threads tonight, they'd soon be saying, "Get the fuck out of Ukraine. Leave it alone. Get out of Israel. Stop this nonsense."
I'm sorry to disagree with you. And I'll tell you why.
Go on.
It never happened in the 60s when it was at its height, when there was millions of people on the streets up and down this island. Every other weekend. Did they listen? No, of course they didn't.
No, they won't. Nah.
Of course. So how are you going to get rid of them? Well, the only way you're going to get rid of them is when people like us take control. Otherwise, they're just going to be there. And you can make all the movies, you can make all the programs that you want about it, and they'll still be sitting there.
Yeah. I remember there was 1 million people, over 1 million people marched against going into the Iraq war, and it didn't matter a fuck. They still went. They didn't give a shit, mate.
And all the other idiots with the uniforms and the guns, they went in as well. One of the saddest things I have lived through is when I lived in Paisley and I watched on the television, because I had a TV back then, and I saw all these young boys in their army uniforms with their rifles, their packs, standing at the pier, and the bands are playing as they're all going off to the Falkland Islands. I never thought for one instant that I'd ever see the British Army marching off to the tunes of brass bands into a war. But there it was. No, it's a folly to think that. that all we have to do is stand up and say we don't want it. They just ignore it. They always have, and they always will.
100% true there, John. And in fairness, CND were basically useful idiots for the regime to keep the fear of the Cold War stoked up. I mean, there was clearly some genuine people among them, but there were a lot of feds in the middle of them, as we see time and time again, riling them up to stoke the fear. And that includes like Threads and the day after the American one.
Yeah.
And the fear there for nothing more to justify the money that was being spent on defence. So then you got 1989 when the Berlin Wall falls, and then between then and 1990, shortly followed by, and more importantly, by the USSR. So we now needed a new baddie, and enter Saddam Hussein in 1991, who was actually convinced by the CIA that the US wouldn't take issue if he invaded Kuwait, because that's exactly what they wanted. Because they knew it would be, oh, shit, we're going to lose a shed load of arms money because Russia can't keep up anymore. But we still need to get these receipts out there. So then, Iraq fizzles out pretty quickly, but then we get the Balkans. That fizzles out. Then we get 9/11, followed by Saddam Mark II, followed by 20 years of Afghanistan. And then Creepy Joe pulls out of that, and within 6 months, we've got the Ukraine conflict, and then following on from that, we've got the Israel conflict. So the whole point is that we maintain, well, I say we, I mean the regime maintains
1984.
A costly war somewhere in the world because money. And we all know who pulls the strings, and we all know that they love money. And until their power base is decimated, we won't do anything about it.
Yeah, money and fear of it, the fear of war, hanging this fear hanging over people's heads constantly.
They want a constant war. There's always got to be a war. It's just like 1984. There's always got to be a war. There's always got to be an enemy you've got to fight. There's always going to be a drain on resources, and the war is really against the people that's fucking running you. We know who the people are. We know the bankers. We know the internationalists who thrive on wars, and all wars are bankers' wars. And these bastards have been causing it for centuries. We know. I better not go into too much. You don't want to lose the channel, but yeah, that's what it's all about, and they're behind it all, and it just sickens me, to see. What do you know? What happened I watch a lot of Al Jazeera news. I got TV, but I'm choosy with what I watch. It's like Al Jazeera news, or come dine with me omnibus editions on a Sunday. Anyway, right, Al Jazeera news. What they've been showing and what Israelis have been doing in Lebanon and Gaza is sickening. Like like Al Jazeera, they got banned from that region by Israel not long after the war started. But yeah, it's sick. And the United Nations are doing nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. No other country in the world could get away with it. But we know it's because they've bought nearly everybody. They own America's government. 85% of Biden's government are from a certain tribe. They've infiltrated British Western politics. Even the new president of Mexico, a female woman, guess what religion she is, yeah? So we all know what's going on, but you can't talk about it. So, yeah, sorry, just pass it on to somebody else.
It reminds me of when I had Sensum on, and we were speaking about similar, and Sensum said he was in fear when he was growing up because at the same time the French Revolution was going on.
All bad ideas come out of France, including the French Revolution, because that was the forerunner to Marxism and communism. All bad ideas come out of France.
You're quite right.
And who was pushing the French Revolution, and who made money?
I don't know. I can imagine there was a bit of money in it, shall we say?
Oh yeah, there was certainly a bit of money at the end of it. But when Yeah. Anyway, mate, I don't. I got to be so careful. I just don't want to get these times. See, that's the fear they've got us under as well. We can't even speak openly about historical facts in case channels get lost. Yeah. It's
Yeah, well,
bad
that's all.
times.
That's all coming to an end. That's all coming to an end. The world is seeing these people for exactly who and what they are.
Yes, John.
What's going on will never be forgotten. It will be written about. There'll be books everywhere. And
Yes, John.
they will not be allowed to forget. They cannot crawl back into that corner and say we're the victim. That's gone now, forever.
Definitely, mate.
That's what changed. That's what changed. And it can never go back. No matter how hard they might try, it will never go back. The Palestinians won't allow it, and the rest of the world won't allow it. And I still don't see how this has got anything to do with Ed Harris.
Blame Sensor.
Yeah, well, you might as well.
Shall we get the closing remarks about the film?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll have the closing remarks about the film, and if you want, folks, we can because I haven't spoken about the current state of affairs really for long enough on the channel. I haven't done it deliberately, so by the way, not because I'm frightened, because I'm not. They don't frighten me. You get at my age, I think you get too old to be frightened easily. I worry. You know what frightens me? Not making it to the toilet in time. That's the kind of stuff that worries old folk. Right. A bit of order. A bit of order, folks. Right. As you started the discussion off, Sensor, give me your closing remarks about the film.
And don't forget your scores.
And don't forget your scores.
Yeah, I like I say, I remember watching it in 2008, and I was in I think I was in like-minded company with my uncle, and that's always sort of gone as an extra half point, shall we say. And I thought, I'd be interested to cover that because I do remember some of the interesting bits and bobs that did go on in it. I would agree with Streaky's opening comment. Really, so, you could have cut half an hour out of it easily, and that probably would have made it a better film, in my opinion. Even so, it's not the worst film I've ever seen. Probably one of the most historically accurate with regards to costumes and the weaponry that was used. I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7 because there were aspects to it that warranted that. It wasn't the best Western ever, but it was pretty far from being the worst. So I'm going to give it a fair 7. Yeah.
Fair enough. William, your closing remarks.
Yeah, it was all right. I quite enjoyed it. Not overly. I thought the acting was good. Directing wise, a wee bit predictable, but then also a wee bit of a twist and a turn. For some reason after it, I couldn't get that gigantic shotgun out of my mind. It was like, how did he manage to even carry that about? And when he first shot it, I think you heard it, and I thought it's going to knock him right back, flying off his feet
Yeah.
because of the size of it.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
noticed on his right shoulder, he's got a leather patch of sorts to
Oh, has
help
he?
him
Yeah.
support the gun all the time, so it
That
doesn't
would make
destroy his
sense.
clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It stood
noticed
out a
that.
mile, but I'd imagine kind of back then, if you had a gun that big, people probably think, right, fuck, I'm not messing with that guy. He's got like a cannon. So yeah, I mean, it was like a quirky kind of interesting film.
Sure.
I wouldn't go raving about it, but yeah, it done well in certain aspects, and I thought the acting was good. To be fair to all the characters, and yeah, quite good. So for me, I had decided after it, I'm going to give it a number 7.
Excellent. That's a good, respectable score. Stricky, your good self.
Yeah, for me it was too long. It could have been cut for me at the scene of the bridge. Could have shot the woman's head off or just got the guy to jail. There wasn't enough scenes with the guns, which is that was a strength they could have played on, was the realism of the guns, the scenes, and the costumes, and the town itself. I think the town got used in many films before. But for the plot, it was average. It was all very average. Some decent actors. Timothy Spall played one of the three main townspeople. So he played, quite a downtrodden guy. You remember the guy with the blonde hair, the glasses? He was the one of
Yeah.
the three guys that hired the two gunslingers. Yeah, and he was a good character. He played it well, but it's not something I'd watch again. I give it 5 out of 10.
Okie doke. Fair enough. Samuel?
Yeah, I'm like William. I'm not a huge lover of the Western films, so I have begun to watch them with yourself. We've watched The Searchers and The Wild Bunch. First time viewings for me. They were far superior films in some aspects. Although I would say The Searchers not as good as the film that we saw here. Appaloosa is a decent film, maybe one for people that haven't tried to watch westerns before. Maybe to if you want to encourage people to watch the films as genre, maybe try them with that, and then give them the heavier stuff like Tombstone and Forgiven and the classics with Eastwood and what have you, and see how they get on with them. It's a very good cast, decent acting, looks quite good. Um, I would say it's probably a 6.5, 6.5 for me.
Very good. Sensum, your good self.
Already done mine, haven't I?
Yeah, he's done it.
But what I have got, if you're interested, is I'll just share my screen very, very quickly. We can see if you want
The films we have watched.
You're muted, Sensum, if you're talking.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think I got auto muted then for some reason. I don't know why, but I was just saying I was counting back, and I did this one, and then we can see William, Samuel, and then Eki. So it's actually you, John, and you've got virtually all the categories apart from Western to choose from.
Right. Okay.
So
I'll think on that.
okay,
Yeah, sure. Just as a point of interest, if anyone is interested, the Spalding actor You might be interested, some of you, to know that he played David Irving in a butchered biography of Mr. Irving. He was
Really?
chosen, yeah, he was chosen deliberately because he didn't look heroic
Whoa.
because of his looks.
No
Yeah,
way.
it had
Fuck's
that
sake.
Rachel Weisz in, didn't it?
Yeah. Let's
Daniel Craig's missus.
yeah.
Whoa.
So there you go. Just as a
What's this? A film about David Irving?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they rattled this thing up after he lost his trial. And that's who they got to play David Irving. Raced it round the world, but it didn't do much. Most people
Yeah.
weren't interested.
Yeah. Whoa.
That's why they picked him, because of his looks.
I expect because he used to be in Auf Wiedersehen Pet. Do you remember that comedy drama from the 1980s?
Yep.
And he played a Brummie. So yeah, obviously Brummies are like the crappiest people in Britain. So they got him to play a Brummie. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Any Brummies in the chat, I apologize. You're better than Scousers.
Oh,
Oh.
Pushing it.
that's
Just
a
on
shame.
on the movie, a cameo role that got played was the judge at the trial. Does anybody know who it was?
Didn't recognise him.
Bob Harris, was it?
Yep, it was Harris's dad.
Was it?
Yeah.
Good to see.
There is another cameo role. I think it was one of the producer's sons played the lawyer or something. But yeah, I thought Ed Harris's dad, that was quite a good cameo.
You better make your way while the bees are still in the butter.
Great writing, I tell you. Very creative, that. Okay. Where is Zeki? Asks Treble M. Treble M, I do not know. I sent his email early enough, but
I also sent him the links to the films when I decided what it was going to be to both of the email accounts that he had, the Eki Lux one and the Flossing Man one. And I didn't hear anything back from him. But I mean, that could be nothing. I just don't. As long as he's okay, that's the main thing.
Well, that's true. I hope that's what it means. We'll know one way or the other in time. It's that simple, that complicated. So there you go, folks. That was the movie review. Didn't last very long once we get started on that other subject. But that's my thoughts on it.
Hey John, it's a good job that Virgil and Everett didn't have the Israel Defense Force coming into Appaloosa. Then you'd see some fireworks.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Well, that's my thinking on it. I think we should not despair. If you ask yourself in the quiet of night, honestly, you would agree that not for one moment would you have thought that they would unmask themselves in the way that they have done. I think it's a terrible way to say it because of the deaths and the manner of the deaths. But I think there's a touch of intervention here. Feel free to comment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
John,
just say
they-
back into chat. Linda's talking about, we're talking about Viggo
them
Mortensen.
Zionists. Yeah. So, sorry. Carry on, William. Sorry, mate. Yeah. Anyway,
Viggo's great actor. Lord of the Rings, The Road as well. Road is
Oh, that's savage, that.
what is probably the hardest watch, even including Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
It's a quality film. Don't get me wrong, it's a quality film, but my God, is it grim?
Yeah, we have that in our collection.
Yeah.
But boy, is it a difficult watch. It really is. Oh, God.
Yeah. I saw that in a cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All its glory, if you can call it glory.
Yeah.
Has anyone else seen it, by the way? No. It comes from a novel. There's only two people in it, really. Him and his boy. But glory, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
If you ever
Yeah,
get
you
the
should.
chance to watch it, you should watch it, folks. But it's a tough watch.
Yeah, it shows how good an actor he is.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Don't watch it if you're in a really sad mood.
No, it's a slit your wrist type thing.
Yeah, yeah. That'll send you over the edge.
So there you go.
And apparently the guy himself's really, really nice in real life. Apparently he's a genuine good guy.
Have you seen this film then, Ludwig?
We've got a version of that one, that film, The Road in Stoke, but we couldn't afford a road. It's called The Path.
Oh, I tell you. Have you seen it, said so?
Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, seen it a couple of times, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
Gosh. Samuel and I have only watched it once. I couldn't take it again.
Yeah. No,
not
true. We watched it twice. We watched it with Laura.
I've seen it a couple of times. If you're into that kind of film, there was a film that came out roughly around about the same time, and another sort of dystopian post the entire planet, like the world crumbling to bits. And it was one where there was this bloke who was minding his own business, living out in the backwoods of some place in Alabama or somewhere like that. And this woman and her daughter rock up, and he sort of takes them in. And I can't remember the name of that film, but that was another one of those ones where it was like, yeah, that's brutally honest. Wish I could remember what it was called. I can't even remember who any of the actors were, but yeah, that was a similar sort of ilk that came out at roughly about the same time. So
yeah, it's one of those films with that guy in it. Yeah.
The Road comes from a novel.
yeah, it's a great film. The Road is proper bleak in it. I like dystopian films.
Yeah, but there's dystopia and there's dystopia.
Slightly watchy version of that would be like the Book of Eli.
yeah.
And the Mad Max films are probably maybe slightly cheerier, maybe.
Of course,
I enjoyed them better. I like The Road. I like Mad Max 2. I thought that was genius. Probably great film.
I'm going to assume, of course, that nobody in the panel has read a book entitled The Sentinel.
It rings a bell. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. But the name rings a bell. I don't know if I'm thinking about an idiot film that's called the same name. Probably, because I am an idiot. I'm not a fool.
Well, it's written by the person talking now.
All right, well, yeah.
It's a dystopian movie. Film. A book. So there you go. Give it a go. Buy my wares before it's too late. So anyway, I hope you all agree with me on a more serious note. I hope you all agree with me that these particular individuals and group of individuals will not simply return to the way they have been viewed in the past. They will now have the eyes of the world firmly fixed on them forever.
Yeah, definitely, John. And you know something, what's happening with you got BRICS. It's like the Brazil, Russia,
Yeah.
India, South Africa. The opposition of the G7. All them world leaders, all coming together. I know with like Brazil, it's and I got with I don't think there's so much J influence in BRICS by a long way. Obviously, America runs the G7 and it runs Britain, it runs Europe. The J's, they run Europe and America. But with the BRICS, the G7, it's a totally different outfit. And they got more
Yep.
wealth as well. Or it's equivalent, like with the wealth. And America's failing. The dollar is going to crash. The petrodollar is going to be big changes on the world. So yeah, hopefully, like you say, people know what's going on. We see it, even though they own 90% of the media, they still can't cover up the horrific things they are doing to them poor Palestinians, man. I'm not being funny. I don't really give a shit about anything that goes on in the Middle East. I cares about my country, but the things what they're doing to these fucking people, man, it's horrifying. Like, and yet Russia's the enemy. Putin's and Trump and see Trump. He looks like he's going to win as well. I'd say Trump's is going to win, but like. Well, that's another story. What's going to happen? But definitely rather him come in than Kamala. He'll stop that nonsense in Ukraine. Whether or not he kicks up with Iran, I don't think he will. I think Trump will come and he will be a peacekeeper. And you may call me naive, but I got my fingers crossed this is going to happen. Like, he's a statesman like Putin, and that's what the world fucking needs right now. Not like our gutless Starmer, our gutless, shitty European German politicians, Schultz, all them twats like running the EU, Stoltenberg, and you all know that all the tribe is just infiltrated. But yeah, John, nice one. The world does know what them bastards are doing now. They should never ever have no sympathy again. I work on a building site. Even people on the building site are talking about who are not really into politics. Have you seen what them bastards are doing to them people? So yeah, you're right. John. I'm starting to get a bit sweary and a bit drunk now, so I'll pack out for a little while.
Yes, to me it seems so obvious that will happen as a result. Even for people who, as you say, Streaky, are not really involved in politics at any kind of level. They'll see one group murdering another group, and because the other group who's being murdered is mainly children and women, then the sympathy will automatically go with that group. So it cannot help but be remembered by the general population of the world.
Well, I think it's showing now in American politics with Michigan is a key state between Donald Trump and Kamala. And with Michigan, it got flooded with Muslims, and there was a certain tribe was behind that because especially in Dearborn, Michigan, was where
Uh,
Henry Ford. I mean, I'm sure you know. I'm telling you, you all know this anyway. Had his car plant,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Henry Ford was obviously against the tribe. So it was great pleasure for them to absolutely flood Michigan with Muslims, and now it's a key state, but they turned right against Kamala Harris because what's happening with the bombing with Israel, and they're letting it go on like this is the Jays, what they've imported, the rattlesnakes they've imported to put into everybody's houses. The rattlesnakes, they're biting them back. It's it's really interesting times we live in. You know,
That's for
this
sure.
this this American election is fat. Is Our election was just fucking rubbish. We just know it. We knew what was going to happen. It was just rubbish. But this American election is a big kick up the ass for the rest of the world. I'm fascinated by it. I'll be honest.
Well, I think it makes it more interesting if you're a young man rather than an old man like me. Because if I was a young man, if this was possible, which is not possible, but if I was a young man, I'd be trying to get my son to come with me to live in Russia.
Get your passport, Samuel.
Yeah, I can't travel.
But that's not possible at my age. I could really support myself. But if I was a young man, that would be. Uh,
I did.
what,
I was.
what, all I was saying, folks, is
Yeah.
if you were choosing a place to go and live, I think you would be hard pushed to find somewhere better than Russia.
I did. I did read it was seemingly Putin was trying to make it easier for Westerners who wanted to go there on some kind of visa. And basically, from what I read, Putin was seemingly calling out the governments of the Western world and saying, "Look, if you want to come, if you want to come to Russia, I'll open the door. I'll pay your flight, and you can come here." But then I've also read a lot of people who are in Russia. They're leaving Russia because they don't like it, and I kind of feel, to be honest, it's a catch-22 situation. It doesn't matter where you go in the world now, you're going to have there's going to be some sort of global issue going on where you're kind of thinking, right, what's next week going to bring? But just going back to Palestine, in about 2012, 2013, 2014, I had been working with a political party, Solidarity, and they were big on Palestine support. Up until that point, to be honest, I'd never really heard much about Palestine, and I kind of at the time felt it was distracting a lot of people from the important issue at that current time, which was pushing for the Scottish independence rather than uh, doing a protest for Palestine, and people they were sending well-earned money to Palestine in the party, and I was a bit like, well, I understand it, but let's try and let's try and prioritize and fix what we can actually maybe have an impact on rather than Palestine. I totally get it, but it's, I mean, we're going over it again today. People talking about Palestine, it's like Groundhog Day for me.
Yeah.
It's never really went away, and part of me feels like, how can there be anything left of Palestine? How long have they been bombing it now? What, 70 odd years? I shouldn't laugh, but I do kind of feel, well, if that's the case, would there even be anybody left there? So the media hype a lot of it up to, I mean, they always spin on it and they exaggerate things completely. I'm not saying it's all fake or lies, but like we've already said, and Streaky said, they want you in that state of fear, worried
Oh
about
yeah,
what tomorrow's going to bring. So as much as
absolutely.
part of me, and I see a lot of the military activity here, I mean, it does have this feel to it that it's heading to some form of escalation. But I also feel that this is where we are now is exactly where they want us, in a kind of state of fear, worried about, well, it's going to kick off. Could it be nuclear? Could it be China step in? Who knows? I mean, if it did kick off, I don't know how bad it could get, but if it kicked off, that I feel like that would be it for me, right next to the military base. Maybe I'll be the one that's getting my visa to Russia.
The thing is, William, doesn't matter how frightened you get, you've got no control over events. This is the thing.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but I mean, when you're dealing with the majority of people in the UK, they're hooked to the BBC and Sky News, and of course, when you get into that, it's got this whole behavioral science aspect. They want you to think a certain way. They want you to act a certain way. They control you or guide you into acting a certain way, and that's through behavioral science. And a lot of that's down to Sky News, BBC. I don't know about Al Jazeera, but um, I never knew Streaky was fluent in in Muslim language. Of course, I know they do it in
Yeah,
English
yeah,
as well. Yeah, I used to
yeah.
watch a bit of
Arabic is like my second language. Yeah,
I used to watch a bit of that as well, going back to like 2014 time. Al Jazeera and RT, the Russian news
yeah, yeah.
network. I thought they were quite good, to be fair.
Russia, RT were decent, but to be honest, before they got took off, before the Russian Ukraine incident, they started to become like a bit gay themselves. RT, they really did. They started to become like a bit fucking globalist nonsense. Like, so
Yeah,
when they, yeah, but they were still obviously miles better than the British news, GB News, and BBC and Sky, all that shite. But Al Jazeera, yeah, they're pretty fucking bang on. Like, what I found after years of watching, Al Jazeera is still pretty much they nail it. Like, and they yeah, that's the news channel I watch the most anyway.
yeah. Basically, what I was trying to get at originally is that people are so easily steered into this state of fear where they're like, "Oh, God's sake!" I've spoke to people before and said, "Look, stop watching the BBC News fucking on loop 24 hours a day, because like John said, whatever's going to happen is
Yeah,
going to happen anyway. So you're kind of wasting." My dad used to say it to me growing up. He was like, why do you worry? Where does worrying get you? Nowhere.
yeah.
Er,
You know, we wouldn't have known about the COVID virus, the fake virus, if we didn't have a TV. We wouldn't have known about it, would we?
Exactly.
And remember, it's not called TV programming without a reason.
Exactly.
Just think about it.
Yep.
I've told this before, but I'll tell it again. This is historical fact. When credit was made available to the general public, you could only get credit to buy a television. The two coincide. Same in America. When the credit was made available to the general public, that was what it was for. You went into a shop and you said you wanted to buy a television, and out came the hire purchase forms, and that's all you could buy. Why do you think that was, folks?
Right. I didn't know that.
Well, that's a fact. To make sure that every home in the land had one.
Yep. Well, they've certainly achieved that.
Yeah.
I think even in the dark caves and mud huts in Zimbabwe, they've got I shouldn't laugh, but like a local TV, if you like, where they'll all kind of gather around it. And
Do you know
it's,
where they
yeah,
learned this? Do you know where they learned this, folks? Some of you will not like the answer to this question. Where did they learn it? Well, they learned it in Germany, where every house was given a free radio.
yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah, and
But the
I think
same,
Germany, they knew about they were sort of first to click on, along
oh
with the
yeah,
Soviets, to the power of propaganda.
yeah. So bear that in mind, folks, for the people who still watch television. If you are going to watch it, be very careful about the length of time you watch any programming. And as my son said, never forget, it's not called programming for nothing. It's there to guide you along the proper way. But I would argue that the best thing you could do with a television is switch it off and unplug it and keep it that
Nah,
way.
I use it. I use it wisely. I'm like smart enough to multitask, and I understand about what shit is being coming out of the TV. But like I've also got one of them. Um, I got access to like about thousands and thousands of channels. So I can. I won't say no more about that, right? But I can be very choosy in what I watch. And like I watch a sport because I like to bet on football. I got no love for the football teams. I got no love for any of them fuckers. Nothing at all. But I love betting on it. So I got the TV there because I can pick up any live game wherever when I want. And
Sure.
I love trash TV on the Sunday afternoon. I'm cooking food. I like Channel 4, Come Dine With Me,
Yeah.
which is like a cooking program with the public. And I know it's trash TV, but sometimes I just want to veg out because I work all week, like I'm doing 50 hours a week and all that. I want to veg out on the weekend. I'll watch some fucking trash TV.
Quite
But
right.
I don't sit there listening to like Channel 4 News or BBC Panorama or nothing like that. I will listen to it, but I know what it was. I watch it so you don't have to. And
Yeah.
what's going on? You can see this from the start in the BBC News. It'll go like a climate agenda, it'll go disability, it'll go racial, and then that's how they follow their news items. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can handle TV. It's just the youngsters with the softer fucking brains. I wouldn't recommend it for them.
Right. I'm going to have to change the topic for the last couple of minutes here. I want to speak directly to Hasdak. Uh, Now, regarding you were asking about music tracks, the best way if you want music my music is to write me an email so that I have your email address. And what I can do is I can then send you a couple of tracks, like the 2 tracks that introduce the live stream and see it out. I can send you them, and we can take it from there. That's the way I've done it with other people. So if you're interested in getting copies of the tracks, then that's what I recommend, rather than this business of sending me money. Okay? I think that's okay then. Oh. Well, have a look, Hasdak. You'll say you've written. Yeah, send another one, and I'll look out for it, and I'll send you a couple of tracks. And if you want any more, well, we can sort that out at a later date. And that applies to anybody else who might be interested. If you're interested in any of the music that you hear on the channel, send me an email asking for the track, and I'll be able to send it to you. Okay? Right. Well, if it's the ones I play on here, I know them right away. And there's a couple more that I sometimes play. But the 2 regulars are easy enough to get to you. So you do that and we'll get that sorted out for you. All right? Okay, folks. I'm going to start with Streaky. Any last words before I take you out of the stream?
No, none at all, John.
Okay, doke. So, where is he? There he is, over there. Right. Streaky is gone. William, have you got any last words?
What's going on here? Am I getting whacked?
Yes. for all those good things you were saying about Russia, just a wee minute. Sheila, yes, send me an email. I'll send you the music. All right. Julia, hope everything's okay between your hubby, and we'll speak to you soon. Okay. Right, William, off you go. Last words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I take my long walk to the chair.
Correct.
Yeah. Hey, it's always great to be on. I take it Sensum's busy tonight with Curry. Oh wait, he is here. I never noticed. No, it's been great. I always enjoy catching up. So, I think I've scheduled a stream for Sunday night. So, if anyone wants to join me, you can catch me there. But yeah, good to see everyone. Great to see everyone in the chat. Good to see yourself, John, Samuel, Sensum. I hope everything's okay in Nigeria. And Streaky, always a pleasure. And hopefully Eke's all right. Yeah, who knows over in that part of the world, but we're thinking of you, Eke, and hopefully you can get back, and we'll catch you then. But thank you, John, and take care, everyone.
Right, you too, William. Right, who have we got left? Samuel, have you any last fading words before I take you out of the live stream?
Thanks for everyone coming tonight, for your input, discussion about the film. slight off topics as well. Maybe a wee bit less of that for the film night, personally speaking. But no, it was good fun as always. Thanks for having me on, and indeed, yeah, hopefully Ecky's okay and we hear from him soon. Okay.
Okay, doc. Oh, why is that now? Why is that not happening? Oh. So that just leaves you, Sensor.
Yeah, it's been a great stream again, John. Thank you very much for having everybody on. I enjoyed it as always, and you know me, I don't mind going off topic a little bit here and there. Yeah, for myself, I'm glad you picked me for last, because if you hadn't, William would have just made bones of it. But tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I'm on Bonnie Lad's channel because he's back tomorrow. Apparently, we're going to be doing a stream, and then straight after that, at 10:30 on 42's channel, we're doing the end of the month stream. I think he's got Packer lined up as his special guest. And then, Sunday, obviously, it's Ragnar Einspear at 7. But then on Monday, Toffee's back with familiar face Hrothgar, who's going to be his guest on Monday. So I think
There's
that's
a weekend.
I think that's everything. And thanks a lot, John. Over to yourself. I'll see you in the back room.
Okay, doke. Okay, doke. So, folks, it's been nice to have your attendance here. Hiya, Steve. Nice to see you. Next week, of course, I'm just checking my calendar. I'm going to have Halloween stream on Halloween night, which is a Thursday, which means there won't be any live stream on the Friday. That's too much nowadays for me. So I'll do the Halloween stream on the Thursday. Check as the starting time. I haven't decided when I'm going to start, but I will be starting that bit earlier. So it won't be a 9 o'clock start as it usually is for the live streams. Candles on standby. Very good. So there you go, folks. Halloween will be on Thursday, and I'll be here on Tuesday. Okay. And thanks again for all of you being here. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have. I don't think there was much left to say on the Western, so that's why I wasn't upset by it changing topic. So anyway, take care, folks. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay. And enjoy the music.
Silently the snow falls, paints a winter scene, swiftly spreads the dark rim, hides the fading autumn green. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, conjure friendships dear to me. Lightly now the breeze flows, disturbing more than just the leaves. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. Patiently the love grows, lifts the weary heart. Gently now she holds me, melts two worlds once apart. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, usher dreams of you and me. Softly then the breeze blows, disturbing more than just the trees.
All together now,
But love's much more
so much more
than we can know.
than we can ever possibly know.
We are one small glow
But an important role.
in the eternal flow. Melodies of long ago, songs of innocence, harmonies to soothe the soul, past the consequence. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, awakening joys of you and me. Silently the snow falls, bringing winter symphony.
All together now,
But we're much more than we can know.
than we can ever possibly know.
We are one small glow
But a very, very important glow.
in the eternal flow. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow.
Don't forget to adjust your time as we move from summer to winter. So don't forget to change your clocks, folks. And I will see you and speak to you soon. Take care.